Sean Froedtert, executive chef at Celestine, and this is the Live Rose. Everybody does it different,
Yeah.
and like I said, they're all pretty green. So like any sort of outside experience, I really encourage them to get.
Experience.
You got experience.
Yeah.
Go see other things. Like go travel.
Yeah.
Go
Big time.
travel.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge.
And like we have a line cook now that's in South America. He like took 3 months off, which is, must be nice.
Must be nice, right? Let me go to South America. Let me go to Brazil, Peru, Argentina, see how they're doing it over there.
Yeah. And like looking back, I'm like, I wish I could have traveled more, it's getting to see things, and it just helps you. Like now that I make, now that I have the resources to travel.
Great way to put it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
resources to travel. Then like a broke line cook. It's like, ooh, went to Westchester. It's huge, getting to see different cultures and different restaurants and different types of food. Just it's so helpful in like making me a better chef and like better cook and like doing the best I can.
Absolutely. And they'll come back too and share what they eat,
exactly. And to have them come back and be like, hey, I saw this, or like they're doing things this way, it's so cool, let's try that.
Absolutely.
I like the collaboration that travel and like seeing other things can really foster. Like,
absolutely.
I
agree.
I came up as a cook in like that old school kitchen culture of like it's the chef's way, which it kind of is, but like there was no like, hey chef, I have an idea, can we try this? There was just none of that.
It's very like, cutthroat.
It was like
don't ask me questions.
Don't ask questions. Well, ask questions, but like
don't
come with your ideas. And like with the Musa, like I encourage the cooks and the sous chefs, like you have an idea, let's do it. I want you to follow through on it. Because they was like, let's do this. I'm like, great, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's try it. I need you to follow through on it. And I really want that, like want them to own it. Like, great, you have an idea? Let's do it. Let's try it. Let's workshop it. Let's talk it through. Let's make it. And I think that's good for them. They need to see, what it takes to put something on a menu, or maybe it was a bad idea, but like there's something we can take out of it. And that's good for them. And I want them to feel ownership over where they're at. Like, it is a job, but like I want them to feel
autonomy.
Autonomy, and like I think 2 or 3 things on the menu right now are from some of the cooks in the kitchen.
Really?
Like, yeah.
See, that's all. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they have that ownership, and like it's fun to see them. They're so proud.
Absolutely.
And they're like, it's my dish. Like, yeah, chef, look. And they're taking pictures. And, it's just, that's fun. That should be a part of it. Like, it's a job, but like, we can have fun. We can be serious and put out good food and be, the professionals that I want us to be. But like, we can have fun. This doesn't have to be, so uptight and just bullshit, old school mentality. If the work's getting done well, like we can have fun. And I'd rather have a good time at work, than just make this awful, shitty place where like, oh, we're putting out great food, but it's just
no one's happy.
It's just miserable. People
Yeah.
feel that. And I think that's a huge part of kitchen culture these days.
Absolutely.
Coming back from the pandemic, like it's different now.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Absolutely. That sounds so refreshing. That sounds extremely refreshing. Just as a consumer of, going to restaurants, but also, I don't have to call myself like a journalist, but somebody who just like does, talk to people like behind the kitchen, you know what I mean? Like it sounds very refreshing, and the fact that you give the line cooks the autonomy and the ownership to like, at least come forth with an idea, right? Or like speak your mind, even if it doesn't actually come to fruition, or like you workshop it, but like it doesn't actually come to the menu. I think that means it speaks volumes.
Thanks.
From your side, of course, but like for them as well too. Like they trust. The trust there is key.
Yeah, it's huge. I want them to take ownership, and it's our restaurant. It's not my restaurant. This place will go on without me. Yeah. But like while we're here, we're gonna take ownership and like
absolutely
put our mark on it, and do the best we can.
That's it.
And try to like have some fun, learn some stuff.
Yep.
But it's not always easy.
No way. I mean, a place like this, there's such. You have such a great way of explaining things in a very easy kind of way, or a very like consumable kind of way, I guess. Once again, no pun intended. But like. But I understand the difficulty for sure. Not even just like preparing everything, but like running everything as well too.
Yeah.
And delegating.
Delegating. That's difficult. It's still difficult. I back, coming up as a line cook, like getting yelled at and getting pans thrown at you and like being told how terrible you are.
Yeah.
Is not fun.
I can imagine.
And I don't think any of that made me work any harder.
Yeah.
And I think if anything, it made me want to do the opposite once I got the opportunity to run a kitchen. And especially like nowadays, like you can't be an asshole.
Yeah.
We have a no asshole policy, which most of the time is enforced.
Yeah.
And I'd rather lead with kindness and try to explain, why we're doing the things we're doing, and correct behaviors politely, and like, I'm not perfect, but like, hey, this is not how we want things done. Like, this is why we're doing things. This is the goal, instead of like, you suck, you're a terrible cook, like you don't know what you're doing. Like, that doesn't make anybody work harder.
No.
It doesn't make people want to come to work. Like, if they feel like they're being treated with respect, and I give them a clear picture of what they're doing and like why we're doing things the way we do them, hopefully people want to work in an environment like that.
Yeah.
It's hard, but like, I don't know, I'd rather there be that respect, and like maybe it's a little loose for people, but I don't know, I think it makes a better working environment for me, for this place. I think it's time, and people are people, and everybody wants it, but like, sometimes you gotta like crack the whip.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have a great culture and environment, and than reign with like fear and like, don't come to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which I've seen all too often, and it's, at the end of the day, we're just making food, and like we're feeding people, and we're providing hospitality. Like, I'm serious about my job, like, but like it's a restaurant. It's serious, but like we're cooking for people.
Yeah.
And it should be fun, and like when cooks are having fun and the staff are happy, like you can feel it, you can taste it, and that's what I want to, that's what we try to do here.
Absolutely. I felt that even just first meeting you today, and I kind of like to think I have a decent awareness of, and I'm pretty observant of how people kind of are, even if on first, of course you never know if somebody is truly, right? But like, just like the aura that someone kind of gives off, you can kind of tell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk to enough people, you probably know.
Yeah. Is that something that like, you've always been like that? Your environment, growing up in Michigan, like your parents maybe, or just is that something that's like people kind of told you, or you fostered kind of?
Yeah, my parents are, super blue collar, hardworking. My mom worked. She had this, not the same job, but like she worked in the hospital in the town I grew up in from the age of 18 till she retired.
Wow.
So like, quick math, 40 something years.
Super blue collar.
Like,
Super.
My dad, same thing, worked in the auto industry, Michigan, of course. But just like, work hard, treat people kindly, be respectful, be nice to people, and just work hard. And that's just, watching them, day after day, just put your head down, do good work. And I just, pick that up from them. And also like that Midwest kindness.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just, watch them, and like, there's that like Midwestern, like, hard work.
Yeah,
tough it out. Yeah. Tough it out. You'll make it.
Yeah.
And I just, work hard. Put your head down and like treat people well, and hopefully people will respond to that. Just to. Whoa.
Hopefully everything goes
well. And a lot of people respond well to it, and some people don't. It's like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we try to not have those people around.
Yeah.
It's happened, man.
And I would say that was a great, explanation, I should say, of kind of where you get the grit from a bit, right?
Yeah.
Environment-wise, overall. But translating over to food a little bit, like, what was the dot connector in that? Like, was food a big thing growing up for you guys? Was it, were you exposed to it quite a bit?
No. I mean, no. The reason I got into cooking was because my mom's gonna hate this. She's a terrible cook. Yeah, sorry, Mom.
The truth is the truth.
Yeah. No, it was like food was what you ate food to survive. Mm-hmm. It was not like a celebrated thing. My mom's favorite meal was it's called Hunt and Kill, which meant like go to the kitchen and find something and make it yourself.
Make it work.
My dad grew up on a farm and was like a farmer. It was like meat and potatoes. No, I was like, I remember like making sandwiches when I was a kid. Like, you remember Scooby-Doo?
Of course.
Do you remember when they would make like the stack
of course,
of sandwiches?
The super duper stack.
Yeah, I did that
like
once.
Out of control.
I did that once with like 10 bologna sandwiches. And I remember walking around the house being like, does anybody want a bologna sandwich?
Yeah.
Anybody want a bologna sandwich? Because I made 10 of them and nobody wanted to eat my bologna sandwich. Yeah. But like my grandma lived down the street from us. Mm-hmm. And every Monday night she would have like the extended family over and she would cook, whatever she had. lots of soups, and I don't know, I just always remember the soups.
Yeah.
But like the family would come together every Monday, and we would all, you know, all my cousins and stuff, we'd play in the yard, and like, you know, all my aunts and uncles would sit at the table and eat, and like that was always something that I look back on that like I planted the seed of like hospitality and food, and how food can bring people together. And like my grandma, you know, was not rich by any means, but like she would always go out of her way to make people feel welcome. And like, you know, it didn't matter like what she cooked, it was like getting people together at the table was important for her. And like seeing that, I didn't really, you know, you don't think about it at the time, you're like a kid, you're like, whatever, every Monday we gotta go to grandma's house. Whatever. But now looking back, I'm like, that was, you know, that was super special. That was a moment that, you know, had a bigger impact on me than, you know, I thought at the time. Bread and butter.
Yeah.
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter, man. I still have that, like, I can still remember that like taste of like fresh bread and the like room temp butter from my grandma's house. Like sticks with you.
Absolutely. And it's funny, you know, you brought that up as well too. I'm a firm believer, for myself at least, food is the ultimate communicator for me, right? So you brought up every Monday your family would come together, and that was a way of, beyond the food, it's just us getting together as a family.
Yeah.
And talking about whatever, but ultimately just being together, right? For me, food is that for me, right? Like, we'll call our friends up, we'll be with family, we'll go out to eat, or we'll come to somebody's house and we'll shoot the shits on whatever's going on in each of our lives or just in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty of things like that. It's sports you can throw out there as like a communicator. There's tons of things, music. But I think food is like the ultimate one, just because, you know, it's pleasurable as well, right? Obviously the food is pleasurable, but the conversations you usually tend to have over food
absolutely
kind of enhance it a bit, you know? It sounds like you kind of took a little bit of that, whether subconsciously or consciously, and kind of grew with it as your career grew as well.
Absolutely. Like I said, like it was more about getting, you know, my grandma would always do something for somebody else before she would do something for herself. You know, that like hospitality maybe of like, you know, making people feel welcome. And, you know, even if you don't have much, like she would offer something and just make people feel welcome. She'd yell at you. But, you know, just like getting people together around a table and sharing some food was just, it was huge. And I think that was like the first seed for me. And then, you know, just like providing and cooking and getting people together. Food was not like what we're eating. It was like, you know, it was just like having people together at a table was important. And then as I like got older and in high school, I had my best friend, his family, like they're probably the second biggest thing for me. I spent all my time over at my buddy Keith's house, and his parents were like big food people. Like I would always sit at the table with them, and like they were Francophiles, so like, you know, I had my first piece of foie gras with them, I had duck with them, you know, they took me for sushi, just like they traveled all the time, you know, and they brought me into that like bigger world of
Beyond
food and cuisine.
Absolutely.
Like food not just to feed, but like food as in something pleasurable.
Experience. Yeah, pleasurable.
An experience. And yeah, I don't think I'd be here cooking if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember having foie gras, and they're like, "You've never had foie gras?" And I'm like, my dad works for Chrysler and my mom works at the hospital. Like, no, duck liver, no. And just finding pleasure in food from them, it was really eye-opening.
Absolutely.
And the from there, like, food can take you places.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, growing up in like a small town, like I wanted out.
Yeah.
I knew from like a young age, like, I gotta get out of this place.
You knew for sure.
Yeah. And I couldn't wait to get out. And I mean, I used food as a way to travel, or like, it was a way to get out. It was like to go cook somewhere, or like go travel somewhere, and get out of the Midwest.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used, I don't know.
No, absolutely. That's a fantastic. I mean, I think I can relate to that in quite a few ways as well too. I've always been enamored with traveling. I travel quite a bit, but I feel like the richness and the depth of which I travel now, especially when it's predicated around talking with different people and chefs and owners and artists, it kind of speaks to what you're saying as how food, was like the liaison to your travel.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, connecting with people, which is what I love on a general, authentic basis, is like even more so the liaison. Of course, when you travel just for leisure with family or friends, it's an amazing time because you're sharing with people, right?
Yeah.
But when you're meeting people that you've never met in your life, off the strength of also food, right? Sometimes, or just the level of dedication that someone might have to their craft specifically, and just wanting and yearning to just connect with people, that I feel like it's similar, because I think overall people want to connect.
Absolutely.
We've always wanted to, but especially after the pandemic, post-pandemic, I think people realize how much they want to connect with people even more so. And figuring out those ways is still kind of rocky for some people, given that we were kind of stuck inside for a bit.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit. But I think people are still yearning, and this is the reason why I do the live rows as well here, is because me personally it's fulfilling, but I want people to see that you can go out and connect with people, and if I can shed light on somebody that's preparing the food that you're going to for the restaurant, you're getting the exact experience of what's going on in their background. I think it's that much more fulfilling when they do show up here at Celestine or wherever it is, Cool World, or wherever it is,
Yeah, I mean, food has that power, to bring
absolutely.
people to the table. My wife and I were on our honeymoon in Sri Lanka, and we were at this restaurant, and the chef came out, and he was like talking to people, schmoozing, and I'm a white guy. My wife's Indian, and like we just looked like, clearly not from here.
Yeah.
And he like stopped at the table, and my wife's like, my husband's a chef. And I was like, she doesn't sound like that. She was like, my husband's a chef. And he was like, oh, no way. Like, come back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And, we like started talking, and he gave us like a tour. And he's like, hey, I own another restaurant. Like, I'm going to go over there. Like, I got a driver. Why don't you come with us?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, like, he took us to his other restaurant. He's like, yeah, I got this yakitori spot I just opened. Like, let's go over there. And we're like drinking the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's like popping bottles, and it's like, what is this? We're getting like taken around Colombo in a SUV with like drivers and security. And he's like, all right, we're gonna go to the yakitori spot. And we walk through the back, and there's like a private garden with like a grill set up. And he's like, let's cook.
Yeah.
It's like 12:30, 1 in the morning now. And he's like going back into the kitchen. They're like cleaning up. And he's like pulling out skewers, and we start the grill, and we're like drinking and cooking, and like just out of
nowhere.
Yeah. I still talk to him to this day.
Yeah.
Just over, food.
Yeah.
It's wild. It was one of the most surreal, fun nights. Just over like, oh yeah, I cook food.
Also cook food, yeah.
Yeah, and we just, became friends from that.
And isn't it such a fulfilling experience? I mean, not only that, but just the connection of itself. It's memorable. You remember it to this day.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy where those things will take you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's fun. Like, I don't think, I'm not to make fun of marketing or advertising people again, but like, if I was Sean, the marketing dude, I don't think that wouldn't have happened. Yeah. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But like, I'm a cook, mm-hmm. and that's, we get into those funny situations like that where like, we're halfway around the world, but like him and I have that shared experience of being cooks and being chefs, and that's something like, it just transcends, like, I don't know you, but we have the same experience.
Absolutely.
And we, we're friends. Yeah. It's so cool. Like, I have some friends that I made in New York. My wife's friends, not my friends. They moved to Scotland and opened a restaurant without really working in restaurants. And like, we were over there recently, and it's just so much fun to talk to them about restaurants now. And it's like, we have that shared experience.
Yep. Absolutely.
That like, it's all the same, no matter where you are. Like, we're all going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it's just good to connect with people, here at the restaurant, but also like, someone 4,000 miles away is going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
And like, it's comforting to know, like, we're not alone. We're in this together, and it's fun, man. I really love doing this. I love the things it's done for me, and like the places it's taken me, and the experiences I've gone through, and friends I've made and lost. It's I don't know, it's a lot of fun, man. It's cool. It's unique.
Hard to bond over if you were a marketing whiz, right? Like, how much are we going to be talking about life over marketing
spreadsheets?
Whereas food, we got to understand the difficulty that goes into like climbing and getting to where you want to go, but also delivering a quality product as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the struggle.
The struggle.
The struggle.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, it is real. It's cool, man. It's, like the creatives, I always drawn to that group, the art kids, the designers, the photographers, the like, I don't know, back in the day, like the weirdo art school kids, those were the most fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I skateboarded growing up, and like, those, it's just, those are more interesting people to me.
Yeah.
Like, food has taken me a lot of places, but also like that like culture of skateboarding, and has that creative like outlet of like, that subculture is huge for me, and it's taken me a lot of places and like opened my eyes to looking at things differently. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like,
no. It's beautiful. I love it. It's needed.
Yeah, man. I like. I don't know. I just never got into that like, ooh, I'm gonna work in business and like.
It wasn't for you.
No, it wasn't for me. I knew it really early. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but like.
Not that.
Yeah, not that. I remember my dad was like, you should go into business administration. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? He's like, there's a lot of people getting old. You can like work in an old folks home. I'm like, that fucking sucks, dude. I ain't doing that. Like, I am getting out of here. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I always try and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I will figure it out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, he just wants the best for me, but
of course.
like...
And that's what he knows as the best, right?
Yeah.
That's always the case with parents, right?
Yeah. They're like, something safe.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. I moved out here when I was 27, 28, and it's like the kind of cliche story, but it was I did the 2 duffel bags on a Greyhound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Fresh.
Yeah, like a fucking bumpkin.
Yeah.
But my parents took me to the Greyhound stop in Toledo, Ohio. I took the midnight bus from Toledo to New York, and we stopped and got some food, and I like grabbed my duffel bags.
Oh.
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm doing y'all delivery from Chef Warehouse.
Okay.
Do y'all still want it delivered? If not, if you want to refuse it, you could.
Downstairs.
Y'all still want it delivered?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Nah, cause my coworker asked. He said, cause there's a lot. We gotta come up the steps and down the steps. So he said, come ask you first.
Yeah.
To make sure, cause there's a lot of stuff that I gotta do by myself. You know.
Yeah.
I'm only.
The guys are downstairs.
They ain't gonna do what I'm doing. They ain't gonna do it. They just gonna be watching.
Nice.
That's funny.
Of course. Nice candid moment.
Those guys. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to go up these steps.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, they dropped me off at the Greyhound stop, which was super sketchy. It's like 11:30 at night, and I just remember the look on their faces, like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Like, now that I have kids, I'm like, yeah, they were absolutely terrified. Like, he's just gonna go get on this bus and go to New York and like figure it out. Yeah, and I remember getting dropped off at Port Authority. Have you been to Port Authority?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a real place.
All of that is a weird place. It's a ton of different people in there. You don't know who's doing what or where, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember walking out because I was dating someone that had moved out here like 2 months prior, and I'd stayed back and I was like, maybe I'm gonna go. And so I had my duffel bags and I had to go meet them at their office. And I remember just getting out my duffel bags, like totally like in that movie, like looking around like, oh shit.
This is crazy.
All right, here we are.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I mean, I had wanted to move here, but I never thought it would happen.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, got my duffel bags, my 1 month rent, figure it out.
To kind of touch on that a little bit, I'm sure that was definitely a challenge at start, you know, first coming here, but were there any, like, it's weird saying memorable challenges that you've had? Because I know no one really wants to remember those, like, tough times, but anything that really kind of speaks to you that really, you know, helped build you? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, there were a few in the beginning here. So, like, back in Michigan, I was cooking, I was a cook, but, like, the way you got a job back there was, like, go through the want ads or whatever and apply for the job, and, like, either you get it or you don't. And here it's like, you know, you trail or stage for a day, and then, you know, it's like a tryout. And I remember my first one, I went on my interview, I wore, like, a shirt and a tie, and they were like, okay, line cook, it's showing up in a tie. And the chef was like, come back, you know, next Wednesday. And I was like, okay, cool, I got the job. Yeah. Sick. First interview, got a job, like, psyched, and it was actually a trail. And I was like, you know, I'm working hard, but I'm also like observing, but also not like I'm thinking I have the job, so like I didn't know I was having to like bust my ass and like see if I can work here. It was like, oh, I thought I had the job. Like I was asking like, when's the schedule come out? Here's my availability. Like,
man.
And they're like,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Uh-huh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, dude, we'll let you know. And at the end of the night, he's like, yeah, we'll call you. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, no, like, we'll make you a hamburger, like, you can eat. I was like, oh, like, I don't have the job. So that was like my first intro to like, oh, this is what a trail is. And that wasn't so difficult, but it was like really eye-opening of like, oh, this is a different league.
Yeah.
And then like 2 or 3 months later, I had like finally gotten a job making falafels at night in Midtown. It was awful. And there was a restaurant that I finally got. They set up a trail for me. I was super excited. And I went in, and it was me and the chef at like noon. And he's like, don't worry, like I told the other cook, because it was like him and one other cook in this kitchen. He's like, I told him not to come in, like you're gonna work the shift. I'm like, okay. Nice. Terrifying, but like, okay. And he told me to go get something out of the walk-in. Celery root. Don't see a lot of celery root in Michigan. And he's like, go get celery root. And I like went into the walk-in. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And
improvising.
Yeah, and I like came out with something. I don't remember what I came out with. But he was like, yeah, that's not it. Wow. And he was like a real dick to me about it, which is fair. And he's like, go downstairs and puree this thing. And he's like, blah, 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 do this. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, trying to figure out the Roboku, and he just walks up behind me. He's like, what do you want to eat? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I'm just gonna make you some food, like you need to get out of here.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, you're clearly not gonna be able to do this. He's like, don't worry, I called the other guy, he's coming in. He's like, I'll make you some chicken, and like you can just get out of here. Wow. And I made it like 35 minutes in that kitchen.
Wow. Did you accept the offer for the food?
What?
Did you accept the offer?
Yeah, I was hungry.
Yeah,
I was poor. I was broke. And I had taken the day off of work to come do this trail. So, wow. Yeah, I remember walking home because the restaurant was in my neighborhood. I remember walking home and I like sat on a stoop. It was like, all right, dude, like you're either going to fold it up now or you're going to do this. And yeah, it was one of those moments where I was like, either shit or get off the pot. I was like, I want to do this. Yes. I want to do this. Like, use this moment. And yeah, it was tough, man. I was like, I suck. You know, just all that self-doubt came in. Yeah. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm almost 30, and like, I got kicked out of this restaurant because I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to dedicate myself to really, I'm going to be a chef. Yeah. And that's, you know, I just started working after that. Yeah. It's like anything I could get. I think I worked 7 days a week for like 4 months straight. Wow. Doing 5 doubles. In the mornings, I made dumplings, handmade dumplings and noodles. Wow. And then at night, I would go up to Midtown and make falafel. It was not glamorous. Yeah. But like,
it's the hard work, right? It's a grind.
Yeah, just a grind, like trying to get my way, like get some more experience. And then that first job interview that I went to with the trail, where I learned what a trail was, like 5 months later, he emailed me and he's like, hey, I got a spot for you. Yeah. And I went in and he's like, you know how to bake? And I was like, sure. Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. He's like, I need somebody to work pastry and then you can make salads at night. And I was like, I'm your dude. Yeah. I was like, I'll be here tomorrow. What time you want me in? And he told me a time. I went up to Midtown. I was like, I'm out. Yeah. I got another job. And yeah, that was it.
I'm so sorry for the interruption. You have some good guests right here, and they're looking to talk about something, and they sitting right here, and I don't know their language.
Yeah.
Because they want to come to your restaurant. So I don't want to send them one way.
Fast forward to now, you know, you're still running Celestine, but now you have taken up Director of Operations over at Cool World. How was that?
It's cool.
Yeah.
That's cheesy. It's exciting, man. It's I guess a natural progression.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot of work, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like clearly, as you and I spoke earlier, there's like a level of trust, and like, finally I'm like, maybe I am good at this.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Like, I'm just trying to like remember everything I've learned and like try to apply the lessons I've learned and like how I want to approach things, and like try to use that with other people, and try to like create this culture that is based on like mutual respect, and like we're I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Just create and foster like an environment,
An
right?
environment, and where we can be smart about things, and like have a good time and put out good food and be respectful to each other, and make some money.
Yeah, absolutely no. And then just one last sort of question, I guess, or question to kind of round it off. We kind of went through quite a bit of your journey, but like, what's something that you would tell somebody who had an exact footprint, maybe not exact, a similar footprint that you went through, moved from a different place, comes to a big city like New York, is also following their footsteps in the food industry or any industry really, but wants to figure it out and has that drive? What would you tell them? A couple things just to kind of get them going.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
And don't take the easy way out, because I think it took me, I like went forward, and then I probably went too far forward before I was ready.
Yeah.
And I had to take some steps back to like, I took a chef role way too soon before I was ready.
Yeah.
And it kind of it ended up putting me back 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And, it's not always easy, but like, just because somebody puts some money in front of you, like, do what's best for your long-term career.
Absolutely.
Like, it might be easy now, like, oh, I got this opportunity, but like, is that what's going to be best for you in 5 years? Do the hard miles,
Absolutely.
and it'll pay off. Like, I wish I would have seen more things, and like, I guess the other part of that would be like, I wish I would have gone around more.
Yeah.
I guess I got it from my parents. Of like, my mom worked in the hospital for 45 years.
Yeah.
Where like, I probably stayed in restaurants too long, certain restaurants.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I would have done, 1 year here, 1 year here, instead of, I worked at a couple places. I did one place for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience, and I learned tons, but like, I wish I could have traveled a little bit more and like maybe seen different restaurants.
Absolutely.
Seeing more things and traveling, like, you really grow as a person, and like, especially in this industry, like, seeing other kitchens and trying other food and working for other chefs. Like, there was a couple years where I went through a few restaurants, and like, I didn't think I was learning anything. Mm-hmm. It's like, to wrap it all up, you don't know till you know.
Till you know. Sean, right? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.